Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. It's the simple, elegant rule from author Michael Pollan that you've likely tried to live by. Yet when you pick up a low-fat yogurt, thinking you're making a healthy choice, you've unknowingly walked into a trap. Pollan himself calls this a sugar delivery system, a processed product designed to replace flavor with chemicals. It is not real food. This yogurt is just one offender. Today, we count down the 10 worst healthy foods according to science. The number 1 food is the most insidious. It's something millions of you eat with pride every day, a staple you believe is safe. Understanding why it's not will change how you view your entire diet.
Let's begin uncovering this hidden truth, starting with 2 great morning betrayals that lurk in the healthy aisle. Coming in at number 10, flavored yogurt. You see the labels promising probiotics and gut health. You feel you are making a responsible choice, but in metabolic reality, you are often eating dessert. What makes these so insidious is the health halo. When food manufacturers remove fat, they don't remove calories, they replace them, typically with sugar. Here is the simple, actionable step. Turn the container over. If you see cane sugar or fruit concentrate listed high up in the ingredients, you are holding a sugar delivery system. The psychological betrayal is that it tastes just healthy enough to silence your intuition. The real solution isn't complicated. It's plain, full-fat Greek yogurt. If you need sweetness, add a small handful of actual fresh berries. You get the fiber, the real nutrients, and you stay in control. Which brings us to number 9, refined breakfast pastries. This includes most muffins, croissants, and bagels you find at a cafe. They are often built from a foundation of refined white flour, industrial seed oils, and sugar. They offer almost zero satiety. But the core problem is one of timing. Starting your day with a massive insulin spike from these foods sets a negative metabolic tone for the entire day. It's a command sent to your body to store fat and to expect more sugar, triggering a cycle of hunger and cravings that you will fight for hours. This is the morning betrayal in its purest form, a breakfast designed to make you fail. Contrast this with a start of oats with nuts and seeds, or simple eggs, which provide sustained energy and keep you off the blood sugar roller coaster. So, you navigate the morning betrayals. You've established a clean start to your day. But what happens when hunger strikes in the afternoon or after a workout? The next 2 traps on our list don't prey on your indulgence, they prey on your discipline. They are designed to look like a reward for your hard work, while quietly undoing it. This is the paradox of disciplined self-sabotage, and its poster child is item number 8, the protein bar. Most are simply candy bars with a dusting of low-quality protein powder, often soy isolates, held together by high-fructose corn syrup. But the ingredients are only half the problem. What makes these uniquely dangerous is the psychological effect. You eat one after a workout and you feel virtuous. It's a badge of discipline. This is performative wellness. That feeling of doing the right thing masks the metabolic damage and reinforces a dependency on an ultra-processed product for a feeling of accomplishment. You aren't just eating a candy bar, you're paying to lie to yourself. Which brings us to an even more subtle form of deception at number 7, artificially sweetened beverages. The promise of 0 calorie does not mean metabolically harmless.
Your body's internal compass, honed over millennia, is being hijacked. When your tongue tastes intense sweetness, your brain anticipates calories and nutrients. When they don't arrive, this system becomes confused. It disrupts appetite regulation. Worse, studies in journals like Nature have linked artificial sweeteners to negative changes in the gut microbiome and glucose intolerance. They also condition your palate to crave an extreme level of sweetness that makes real whole foods like fruit taste bland and unsatisfying. You are being trained to reject nature. So we've unmasked the traps set for your discipline, but the architecture of this deception runs deeper. It's built on a scientific lie sold to the public for over 40 years, a lie that declared war on an essential nutrient, only to replace it with something far worse,
chronic inflammation in a bottle. That war was waged against fat, and its first battlefield was the grocery aisle, flooded with products promising salvation through subtraction, low fat and fat-free. At number 6, we find these very foods. Here is the fundamental deception. When manufacturers remove fat, they don't remove calories, they replace them. To compensate for the loss of flavor and texture, they add a slurry of sugar, refined starches, and chemical thickeners. You believe you're choosing discipline. You're actually choosing a highly processed concoction that disrupts your metabolism. The problem was never the fat in its natural state. The problem is the industrial alteration. The most direct path to reclaiming your internal compass here is to ignore the low-fat label entirely. Choose the full-fat, natural version. Real butter, whole milk yogurt, actual cheese, and simply be mindful of the portion. Your body understands this food. Coming in at number 5 are industrial seed oils. This category includes most soybean, corn, sunflower, and canola oils. These are not gently pressed. They are born from extreme heat and chemical solvents, a process that leaves them oxidized and unstable. Their deepest danger, however, is invisible. They have flooded the modern diet with inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids. While your body needs both omega-6 and omega-3, the ideal ratio is close to 1:1. Today, thanks to these oils, that ratio is often as high as 20:1. Imagine trying to build the walls of your house with 20 pieces of dry kindling for every one fire-resistant brick. That is the cellular environment you are creating. It is a slow, silent architecture of chronic inflammation. The solution is a purge. Cook with stable, traditional fats: olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, real butter, or ghee. We've discussed replacing a nutrient with something worse and using oils that fuel inflammation. But the next item on our list represents a different kind of transgression. It is a substance so far removed from nature that your body has no biological blueprint to process it. It's a monument to the belief that humanity could outsmart biology. That monument is margarine. Coming in at number 4 on our list, margarine is one of the most aggressive forms of food manipulation ever conceived. The process is called hydrogenation. It takes a natural liquid oil and, through industrial force, bombards it with hydrogen atoms until it becomes a solid spread. In doing so, it creates trans fats, a molecular structure that does not exist in nature. Your body has no biological blueprint for it. These artificial fats interfere with the fundamental workings of your cell membranes. Yet for decades, it was marketed as a healthier alternative to butter. It represents a profound cautionary tale, a triumph of marketing over biology, proving that a mainstream narrative is not a guarantee of truth. For the individual building an internal compass, it is a foundational lesson. If margarine is the completely unnatural, our number 3 item is the natural that has been stripped of its inherent wisdom: fruit juice. Picture a single whole orange. Nature packages its sugar with fiber. This fiber is the brake pedal. It slows sugar absorption and tells your body when you're full. Now, a glass of juice. It contains the concentrated sugar of 4 or 5 oranges, but the fiber, the brake pedal, has been completely thrown away. This unleashes a massive flood of fructose directly to your liver, which, when overwhelmed, begins to convert that sugar into fat. This isn't theoretical. It is a primary driver of the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease epidemic we now see, even in young children. The betrayal here lies in our trust. We perceive juice as a symbol of health, a gift to our kids, when metabolically, it functions closer to a can of soda. We have now exposed the entirely unnatural and the deceptively stripped. But the food at number 2 operates on a different timeline. It's a culprit so obvious that we tragically underestimate its sheer destructive speed. It's engineered to bypass your body's defenses and deliver a metabolic shockwave in a matter of minutes. This culprit is number 2 on our list: sugary drinks. Sodas, sweet teas, energy drinks, the entire category of what is best described as liquid sugar. Their position this high on the list comes from one simple, brutal fact. They completely bypass your body's satiety mechanisms. Drinking a soda isn't like eating sugar. It's like injecting it directly into your metabolic system. There is no brake pedal, no negotiation with your digestive system, just pure, unadulterated impact that delivers a massive glucose load without providing any sense of fullness. Regular consumption is directly linked to the cornerstones of modern disease: obesity, type 2 diabetes, and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Because liquids digest so fast, the metabolic damage accumulates with a speed that solid food simply cannot match. The swap is simple, but it requires a conscious decision. Sparkling water with a squeeze of real lemon, unsweetened iced tea. This doesn't just replace a drink, it retrains your palate to appreciate subtlety over shock. We've now seen the aggressive, fast-acting villains, but the number one spot on this list is reserved for something far more insidious. It is not the food that hits the hardest or the fastest. It is the food that is the most invisible, the one that has woven itself so deeply into the fabric of your daily routine that you no longer see it as a choice, but as a default. It hides in plain sight, eroding your health slowly, silently, while you believe you are doing nothing wrong. The final, most important reveal is next. That number one food, the most insidious of all, is refined grain. White bread, pasta, crackers, breakfast cereals, the foundational elements of the modern diet. You might be thinking, that's it? Not some exotic chemical? And that is precisely the point. Refined grain is not number one because it is the most acutely toxic. It is number one because it is the most invisible, the most frequent, the most normalized. Its danger comes from this relentless, quiet repetition. It's the toast for breakfast, the sandwich for lunch, the pasta for dinner. This is food that does not exist in nature. It is a man-made invention, where modern wheat is stripped of its bran and germ, its fiber, its nutrients, leaving behind a pure, barren starch. In your body, it behaves just like sugar, triggering constant insulin spikes and a low-grade inflammation that smolders for decades. This is the ultimate conflict between a broken societal norm and your own rational mind. It's the slow poison everyone accepts as sustenance. These foods don't harm you overnight. They do it quietly, meal by meal, eroding your health while hiding in plain sight. You now have the answer to what? The most dangerous food is the one that seems the most normal. But knowing the target is not the same as understanding the strategy against you. The deeper question remains, how did this become our reality?
How does slow damage so masterfully hide inside of routine? And crucially, how do you build the internal compass to see through it all? That synthesis is what comes next. The answer to how lies in a quiet, deeply human principle. When something doesn't hurt immediately, the brain files it under safe, even when science says otherwise. This is why the real danger of these 10 foods isn't simply that they exist. It's that they have been normalized, made ordinary by price, convenience, and decades of relentless marketing. They become part of the background of our lives, the unquestioned choices we make on autopilot. That's how slow damage works. It hides inside routine. But this awareness is not a reason for guilt. It is the first step toward building your own internal compass for health, one that navigates by nutritional reality, not by grocery store aisles. If this breakdown helped you see everyday foods differently, tap the like button so this message can reach more people. And finally, I want to hear from you. Which food on this list was the biggest surprise? And what's one simple switch you're considering making? Share it in the comments below. Reading through them is how we all learn and reinforce these changes together.